The coffee was cold. That's the first thing I noticed when Marcus Blackwood shoved the cup across the marble conference table, splattering dark liquid onto the contract I'd spent 3 weeks preparing. "This is garbage," he said, not bothering to look up from his phone. "My intern could draft better terms than this." I stared at the stains spreading across page 12. The contract represented 6 months of negotiations with Prometheus Energy, a merger worth $8.3 billion. I'd worked 80-hour weeks to get every clause perfect. And Marcus Blackwood, CEO of Apex Industries and the youngest billionaire in Chicago, had just dismissed it like junk mail. "Mr. Blackwood," I said, keeping my voice level, "if you'd review Section 4, you'll see." "I don't need to review anything." He finally looked at me. His eyes were the color of ice, sharp and dismissive. "You're a paralegal, correct?" "Junior associate, sir, but I—" "Same thing," he waved his hand. "Go get me someone who actually went to law school, someone from Harvard or Yale, not whatever state school pumped you out." Heat crawled up my neck. Northwestern. I'd graduated from Northwestern Law, top of my class, drowning in debt but armed with honors. But Marcus Blackwood didn't care about facts. He cared about pedigree, about appearances, about making people feel small. "I'll get Mr. Harrison," I said quietly. "Good girl." He turned back to his phone. "And bring real coffee this time, not the swill you people drink." I gathered the stained contract with shaking hands and walked out of the conference room. The moment the door closed behind me, I pressed my back against the wall and breathed. "Don't cry. Don't give him that satisfaction." My name is Alina Reyes, and I'd been working at Morrison and Associates for exactly 4 months. It was supposed to be my dream job, a prestigious corporate law firm in downtown Chicago with clients who shaped the economy. Instead, I'd become the firm's resident doormat, passed around like office supplies to whoever needed grunt work. And Marcus Blackwood was the worst of them. I'd been assigned to the Prometheus merger because everyone else was too busy. The senior partners saw it as babysitting duty, keeping Blackwood happy while they closed bigger deals. What they didn't know was that I'd found something in the Prometheus financials, something that would blow this merger apart. But who would listen to a 26-year-old junior associate who couldn't even serve coffee correctly? I made it to the break room before my phone buzzed. A text from my younger brother, Miguel. "Did you send the money? Landlord's threatening eviction again." I closed my eyes. The check I'd written would bounce. I knew it would bounce. My salary barely covered my own rent, let alone helping my family back in Los Angeles. But Miguel was in college, working 2 jobs and still falling short. Our mother was sick. Our father had left years ago. I was all they had. I typed back, "Sent, you're good." Another lie to add to the pile. "Alina," Mr. Harrison's voice boomed down the hallway. "Blackwood's asking for you. Something about the energy projections." My stomach dropped. I'd flagged those projections in my notes, had tried to explain the discrepancy to Harrison last week. He'd told me to stop overthinking and just format the documents. But the numbers didn't lie. Prometheus Energy was hiding something massive, and if Marcus Blackwood signed that merger, he'd lose everything. Part of me wanted to let the arrogant billionaire crash and burn. The other part of me, the part that still believed in doing the right thing despite everything, couldn't stay silent. I grabbed my notes and headed back to the conference room. When I entered, Marcus was standing at the window overlooking Lake Michigan. He'd shed his suit jacket, and his white shirt stretched across broad shoulders. At 34, he was absurdly successful, absurdly wealthy, and absurdly convinced of his own brilliance. "You flagged something in the energy projections," he said without turning around. "Harrison said you had questions." "Yes, sir, if you look at the third quarter reports." "I don't have time for a lecture." He turned, pinning me with those cold eyes. Yes or no, is this deal solid? I hesitated. This was my chance. I could tell him the truth, show him what I'd found. Or I could keep my mouth shut, let him sign, and watch his empire crumble. He deserved it after the way he'd treated me, the way he treated everyone. But I'd taken an oath, and my conscience, battered as it was, wouldn't let me be silent. No, sir, the deal has a fatal flaw. Marcus went very still. Explain. I pulled out the financial statements, spreading them across the table. Prometheus is reporting $2.1 billion in revenue from their offshore wind farms. But when you cross-reference their actual energy output with market rates, the math doesn't work. They're claiming to produce 40% more electricity than their turbines are physically capable of generating. That's impossible. We had auditors review everything. The auditors reviewed what Prometheus gave them, but I pulled the Public Utility Commission reports. The real generation numbers are buried in state filings. They're inflating their production data to hide massive losses. Marcus stared at the documents. I watched his jaw tighten as he scanned the numbers. Why would they do that? He asked quietly. Because they're bankrupt. They need your $8.3 billion to cover debt obligations. The wind farms aren't profitable. They never were. Once you acquire them, the real numbers will surface, and you'll be holding worthless assets with billions in attached liabilities. The silence stretched. I could hear my own heartbeat, could feel sweat gathering at the small of my back. If you're wrong, Marcus said, his voice dangerously soft, you'll never work in law again. I'm not wrong. He picked up his phone and dialed. Get me Richard Prometheus, now. While he waited, he looked at me. Really looked at me like I was a person instead of furniture. What's your name? He asked. Alina Reyes. Where did you go to school? Alina Reyes. Northwestern Law. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or shame. Mr. Prometheus, Marcus said into the phone, his tone shifting to pure ice. We need to discuss some discrepancies in your energy production reports. Either you explain them in the next hour, or I'm walking away from this deal and filing a fraud complaint with the SEC. I heard shouting on the other end of the line. Marcus hung up. He turned to me. If you just saved me $8 billion, he said slowly, then I owe you an apology, and probably a lot more than that. Just doing my job, sir. No, he shook his head. You did everyone else's job better than they did. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Miguel. Money didn't come through. Account says insufficient funds. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Marcus must have seen something in my face because his expression shifted. Problem. No, sir, I couldn't finish the lie. He was watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. You don't have to call me, sir. My name is Marcus. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Alina, he said, and hearing my name in his voice did something strange to my pulse. I need to verify what you found. If you're right, this changes everything. Can you stay late tonight? Help me dig deeper. I should have said no. I should have remembered the coffee, the insults, the casual cruelty. But I looked at those ice-blue eyes and saw something different now. Respect, maybe, or the beginning of it. Yes, I said, I'll stay. I had no idea that decision would change both our lives forever. The office emptied as evening fell, lawyers flooding out to their expensive apartments and exclusive restaurants. Marcus and I stayed in the conference room, surrounded by documents and cold pizza that he'd ordered without asking what I wanted. Tell me about the Utility Commission reports, he said, leaning back in his chair. His tie was loosened now, his sleeves rolled up. He looked more human this way, less like a corporate machine. I pulled up the files on my laptop. Every wind farm has to report actual production to the state PUC. It's public record, but it's buried in hundreds of pages of regulatory filings. Most people don't bother checking because the audited financials should match. But Prometheus has been filing two different sets of numbers. That's securities fraud. Yes, and if you'd completed the merger, you'd be liable for their debts the moment the fraud surfaced. The banks would call your loans. Your stock would tank. Apex Industries would be gutted. Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair. How did no one else catch this? I didn't answer. We both knew why. The senior partners had been too busy schmoozing and collecting fees to actually read the documents. They delegated the real work to me, then ignored my warnings. You tried to tell Harrison, didn't you? Marcus asked. Yes. And he dismissed you. He said I was overthinking it. Marcus's expression hardened. Harrison's fired, effective immediately. Wait, you can't. I absolutely can. He nearly cost me my company because he was too arrogant to listen to a junior associate. He met my eyes. Too arrogant to listen to you. Something warm unfurled in my chest. Vindication, maybe, or hope. What happens now? I asked. Now I make some calls. Prometheus is going to try to bury this, but I have friends at the SEC. By tomorrow morning, they'll be under investigation. He stood, packing to the window. The city glittered below us, a sea of lights stretching to the horizon. You saved me, he said quietly. Do you understand that? If I'd signed that deal, everything I've built would have collapsed. My employees, my investors, my reputation. Gone. You would have figured it out eventually. No, he turned to face me. I wouldn't have. I'm good at making money, at closing deals, at intimidating people into giving me what I want. But I'm not good at the details. I rely on people like you to catch what I miss. And today I treated you like you were nothing. The apology hung in the air between us. You did, I agreed. I'm sorry. The words sounded rusty, like he wasn't used to saying them. I'm sorry for the coffee, for the insults, for being a complete bastard. You deserved better. I should have accepted gracefully and moved on. But something reckless stirred in me, fueled by exhaustion and anger and 4 months of being invisible. Do you know why I work 80-hour weeks? I asked. Why I check every footnote, every filing, every number 3 times. Marcus shook his head. Because I can't afford to make mistakes. I'm the daughter of immigrants. I put myself through college and law school on scholarships and loans. I send half my paycheck home to help my family. I don't have a safety net, Mr. Blackwood. I don't get second chances. My voice cracked. So yes, I double-check everything. I read every page. I catch the details everyone else misses. Not because I'm smarter than them, but because I have to be. Because people like you don't notice people like me unless we're perfect. The silence that followed was crushing. Then Marcus crossed the room in 3 long strides and stopped in front of me. Close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and crisp. You're right, he said. I didn't notice you, I should have, and I'm going to fix that. How? By offering you a job. I blinked. I have a job. Not at Morrison and Associates. Here, at Apex Industries, as my chief legal counsel. The words didn't compute. You're what? I need someone who sees what others miss. Someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Someone I can trust. He paused. I need you, Alina. My heart hammered against my ribs. I'm 26 years old. I've been practicing law for 4 months. You can't possibly. You just saved my company. That's worth more than 10 years of experience pushing papers. He pulled a business card from his wallet and scrawled a number on the back. This is my private line. Think about it. Take the weekend. But Alina. Yes. Don't sell yourself short. You're not just perfect, you're brilliant. He left me standing there, holding a business card that felt like a lottery ticket and a landmine all at once. I should have gone home. Instead, I stayed in the conference room, staring at Marcus Blackwood's phone number and wondering if I'd just been offered salvation or destruction. My phone buzzed. Miguel again. "Elena, I'm serious. We're going to get evicted. Mom's medicine costs $400 this month. I don't know what to do." I looked at the business card, looked at my brother's desperate text. Then I dialed the number. Marcus picked up on the first ring. "Elena." "I want triple my current salary," I said before I could lose my nerve. "And a signing bonus, enough to cover my family's expenses for 6 months." "Done." "I want my own office. And a real title, not some assistant position where I'm fetching coffee. Chief Legal Counsel, corner office, your name on the door. And I want it in writing. A contract that protects me if this doesn't work out." There was a pause. Then Marcus laughed, a real laugh that sounded almost surprised. "You're negotiating with me," he said, and he sounded delighted. "No one negotiates with me." "I'm not no one, Mr. Blackwood." "No," he agreed. "You're definitely not. I'll have the contract ready Monday morning. Welcome to Apex Industries, Elena." He hung up. I sat in the dark conference room, my hands shaking, and wondered what I just agreed to. 3 months later, I stood in my corner office on the 42nd floor of the Apex Industries tower, reviewing contracts for a tech acquisition. My name was on the door in gold letters. My salary had tripled. My family was stable for the first time in years. And I was more terrified than I'd ever been in my life. Working for Marcus Blackwood was like dancing with a hurricane. He was brilliant, demanding, and completely unpredictable. He'd call me at 2 a.m. with ideas. He'd challenge every recommendation I made. He pushed me harder than anyone ever had. And somehow, against all logic, I was thriving. "Elena," Marcus appeared in my doorway, looking harassed. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The Nexus acquisition. The tech startup we bought last month. Their lead developer just quit and took half the engineering team with him." I frowned. "That's not a legal problem, that's corporate espionage. He's starting a competitor using proprietary code he developed while under our employment. We need to prove ownership and get an injunction before he launches." I grabbed my tablet. "Show me the employment contracts." We spent the next 6 hours in the war room, dissecting non-compete clauses and intellectual property agreements. Marcus was impressive to watch, his mind moving at lightning speed, connecting dots I wouldn't have seen. "Here," I said, pointing to a clause buried in the developer's original offer letter. He signed away IP rights to anything created using company resources. If we can prove he used our equipment or systems to develop this code. "We have his computer logs. It archives everything." Marcus grinned. "Elena, you're a genius." "I'm thorough." "Same thing." He checked his watch. "It's past midnight. You should go home." "So should you." "I will, after I call our litigation team and brief them for tomorrow's hearing." I gathered my things but paused at the door. "Marcus." "Ahem. Why did you really hire me? Be honest." He looked up from his phone, those ice blue eyes serious. "Because in a room full of Harvard lawyers telling me what I wanted to hear, you were the only one brave enough to tell me the truth. That's worth everything." Something warm bloomed in my chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You earned this, Elena, every bit of it." I left feeling lighter than I had in months. The next morning, everything fell apart. I was in court, watching our litigation team argue the injunction, when my phone exploded with notifications. News alerts, texts, emails, all with the same headline. Apex INDUSDRIS, CEO, MARCUS Blackwood under investigation for insider trading. My blood went cold. I pushed my way out of the courtroom and called Marcus. He picked up immediately. "I didn't do it," he said before I could speak. Elena, I swear to God I didn't do it. Tell me what happened. 3 months ago, I sold 10% of my Apex stock. Standard portfolio rebalancing. But someone's claiming I had insider knowledge of the Prometheus deal falling through, that I dumped stock before the market found out. Did you? No, I sold the stock 2 weeks before you even flagged the Prometheus issues. But the SEC doesn't care about timeline. They care about the optics. I thought fast. Who reported you? That's the thing. The complaint is anonymous, but it's detailed. Too detailed. Someone inside Apex leaked information about our internal discussions. A chill ran down my spine. Marcus, who knew about the Prometheus investigation. Just you, me, and, he stopped, Harrison. Harrison, the partner I'd replaced, the one Marcus had fired. He's setting you up, I said. He knew about the stock sale. He knew about Prometheus. He waited until now to file a false complaint with the SEC, hoping to destroy you. If he can prove insider trading, I'll lose everything. They'll freeze my assets, remove me from Apex, possibly file criminal charges. Then we prove you didn't do it. I was already walking toward my car. I'm coming to the office. Don't talk to anyone until I get there. I hung up and drove faster than I should have, my mind racing. Marcus Blackwood had given me a chance when no one else would. He'd believed in me, promoted me, paid me enough to save my family. Now it was my turn to save him. When I arrived at Apex, the lobby was swarming with reporters. I pushed through them, ignoring their shouted questions, and took the elevator to Marcus's office. He was standing at his window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of accusation. Elena, he said without turning, you should distance yourself from this. If I go down, I'll take everyone close to me with me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm serious. Harrison will come after you next. He hates that I chose you over him. Let him try. I set my briefcase on his desk. Now tell me everything. Every conversation, every email, every trade. I need complete transparency. For the next 3 hours, Marcus walked me through his finances. The stock sale had been planned months in advance, part of a diversification strategy his wealth manager had recommended. There was no insider knowledge, no criminal intent. But Harrison had constructed a narrative that looked damning on paper. He's smart, I admitted. He's using the timeline to make it look like you knew about Prometheus and sold stock to avoid losses. Can we fight it? Yes, but we need proof that the stock sale was planned before you had any knowledge of Prometheus's issues. I pulled up my laptop. When did your wealth manager first recommend the sale? March. He sent an email in early March. I searched through Marcus's email archives, found the message from his wealth manager. Dated March 3rd, 2 full months before I'd even been assigned to the Prometheus deal. This is good, I said. This proves the sale was planned in advance. But how do we prove? I didn't know about Prometheus's fraud in March. I thought about it, then I remembered. The Utility Commission reports. The ones I pulled to verify Prometheus's energy production. When were they filed? Marcus checked his records. April 15th. The PUC filings weren't even public until mid-April. So there's no way you could have known about the fraud in March. The evidence didn't exist yet. I pulled the timeline together, cross-referencing dates and documents. The case built itself, piece by piece, until the truth was undeniable. Marcus hadn't committed insider trading. He'd been set up by a vindictive ex-employee who wanted revenge. We take this to the SEC, I said. We show them the timeline, the emails, the PUC filing dates. We prove Harrison's complaint is false. Marcus was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. You did it again. Did what? Saved me. He crossed the room and took my hands in his. "Alina, I don't know what I'd do without you." His touch sent electricity through me. We were standing too close, his eyes too intense. "You'd survive," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You always do." "Not this time. This time I need you." The moment stretched between us, charged and dangerous. I knew I should step back, maintain professional distance, but I couldn't move. Marcus's phone shattered the spell, buzzing with an incoming call. He released my hands and answered. "Blackwood." His expression changed. "When? How many? I'll be right there." He hung up and looked at me, his face grim. "What is it?" I asked. "Harrison just filed a shareholder lawsuit. He's convinced 3 board members to support a vote of no confidence. They're trying to remove me as CEO. They can't do that without cause. They're claiming the insider trading investigation is cause enough. The board meets in an hour to vote." He grabbed his jacket. "I need to get there." "I'm coming with you." "Alina." "I'm your lawyer. Where you go, I go." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. We rode the elevator down together, preparing for war. The boardroom at Apex Industries was designed to intimidate. A massive table made of dark wood, leather chairs that cost more than my first car, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago. Today it felt like a courtroom. Marcus sat at the head of the table, his expression carved from stone. I stood behind him, my files organized and ready. Around the table sat 12 board members, each one a titan of industry. And at the far end, looking smug, sat Harrison. "Let's begin," said Richard Sterling, the board chairman and oldest member. "We're here to discuss a vote of no confidence regarding Marcus Blackwood's leadership of Apex Industries." "This is premature," I said, stepping forward. "Mr. Blackwood hasn't been charged with any crime. The SEC investigation is ongoing." "The optics are damaging," Harrison interjected. "Our stock is down 15% since the news broke. Investors are nervous. We need to act decisively." "What you need to do," I said coldly, "is review the facts before making a decision that could destroy this company." Harrison's eyes narrowed. "And who exactly are you, Ms. Reyes?" "I'm chief legal counsel, and I have evidence that proves Mr. Blackwood is innocent." I distributed copies of the timeline, the emails, the PUC filing dates. As the board members reviewed the documents, I watched their expressions shift from skepticism to surprise. "As you can see," I continued, "Mr. Blackwood's stock sale was planned in March, 6 weeks before the evidence of Prometheus's fraud even existed. There's no way he could have had insider knowledge." "But the SEC complaint," one board member started, "was filed by Mr. Harrison here." I turned to face him. "A man who was fired 3 months ago for negligence and has been seeking revenge ever since." Harrison shot to his feet. "That's slander." "It's the truth. You had access to all the information about the Prometheus deal. You knew about the stock sale. You waited until now to file a false complaint, hoping to damage Mr. Blackwood's reputation beyond repair." "You have no proof of that," Harrison snarled. "Actually, I do." I pulled out my final piece of evidence. "This is an email from your personal account to a reporter at the Financial Times, sent 2 days before the SEC complaint was filed. In it, you discuss the insider trading allegations and promise an exclusive story once the investigation goes public." The room went silent. Harrison's face drained of color. "That's I can explain." "You conspired to damage this company because you were fired for incompetence," Marcus said, his voice cutting like a blade. "You filed a false report with federal regulators and leaked confidential information to the press. That's not just unethical, Harrison, it's criminal." Richard Sterling cleared his throat. "In light of this new evidence, I move to table the vote of no confidence pending the outcome of the SEC investigation. Seconded, another board member said immediately. The vote was unanimous. Harrison fled the boardroom like a beaten dog, and I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. Marcus stood, addressing the board. Thank you for your time. I'll keep you updated as the SEC concludes their investigation. This company is stronger than one man's vendetta, and I intend to prove it. The board members filed out, several stopping to shake Marcus's hand and apologize for doubting him. When the room was finally empty, Marcus turned to me. That was incredible, he said. How did you find the email? I had it pull Harrison's digital footprint after he filed the complaint. He was sloppy, used his personal email instead of covering his tracks. Marcus laughed, the sound carrying relief and admiration in equal measure. You're terrifying when you're focused, you know that. I learned from the best. He stepped closer, and suddenly the massive boardroom felt very small. Elena, I need to tell you something. My pulse kicked up. What? These past 3 months, working with you, it's been the best professional relationship I've ever had. You challenge me. You make me better. He stopped, running a hand through his hair. You make me want to be someone worthy of your respect. My breath caught. Marcus. I know this is complicated. I'm your boss. There are power dynamics and ethical considerations, but I can't stop thinking about you, and I need to know if I'm alone in this or if you feel it too. I should have said no, should have maintained professional boundaries, should have protected my career and my heart. Instead, I told him the truth. You're not alone. Marcus closed the distance between us, his hand cupping my face with surprising gentleness. Then tell me to stop. Tell me this is a bad idea and I'll walk away. I'll keep things professional. But Alina, if you don't stop me. I kissed him. It was reckless and stupid and perfect. His lips were warm, his hands steady on my waist, pulling me closer. I fisted my hands in his shirt and let myself fall. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus rested his forehead against mine. This changes everything, he whispered. I know. We'll have to be careful. No one can know until the SEC investigation is resolved. Agreed. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes. I'm going to take you to dinner tonight, somewhere private. Somewhere we can just be Marcus and Alina, not CEO and counsel. I smiled. I'd like that. Good, because I plan on making up for that terrible first impression. You have a lot to make up for, the coffee incident alone. He kissed me again, soft and sweet and full of promise. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me, he murmured against my lips. And for the first time in my life, I believed in happy endings. 6 months later, the SEC closed their investigation, concluding that Marcus had not engaged in insider trading. Harrison was charged with filing a false report and settled quietly to avoid prison time. Apex Industries thrived, our stock reaching record highs as we acquired 3 major competitors and expanded into new markets. And Marcus Blackwood, the ruthless billionaire CEO who once made me feel invisible, became the man who made me feel seen. We kept our relationship quiet at first, mindful of office politics and professional ethics. But eventually, the truth came out. The board approved. The shareholders didn't care. And Marcus stood in front of the entire company during a quarterly meeting and announced that I'd been promoted to Chief Operating Officer. Alina Reyes saved this company, he said, his eyes finding mine in the crowd. She's brilliant, dedicated, and refuses to let anyone settle for less than excellence, including me. After the meeting, he pulled me into his office and closed the door. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his desk drawer. He pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. Alina Reyes, Marcus said, dropping to one knee. "You're the smartest person I know, the bravest, the one who tells me the truth even when it's hard. You saved my company, my reputation, and my life. Now I'm asking you to save me one more time." He opened the box, revealing a diamond ring that caught the light and shattered it into rainbows. "Marry me. Be my partner in everything. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that you're the best decision I ever made." Tears streamed down my face. "You're serious?" I've never been more serious about anything. I thought about the girl who'd served cold coffee and swallowed insults. The girl who'd worked 3 jobs to put herself through school. The girl who'd almost walked away from the opportunity that changed everything. Then I thought about the man kneeling in front of me, offering his heart with the same vulnerability he'd shown when he admitted he needed help. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." Marcus stood and kissed me, and the city sprawled below us, full of possibility and second chances. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too, even though you're still terrible at making coffee." He laughed against my lips. "Then I guess I'll have to keep you around to show me how it's done." And he did. We were married 6 months later in a small ceremony overlooking Lake Michigan. My family flew in from Los Angeles. Miguel gave me away. My mother cried happy tears for the first time in years. Marcus's toast at the reception was simple. To Alina, who saw potential in me when I was too arrogant to see it in anyone else. Thank you for saving me. I clinked my glass against his. Thank you for finally noticing me. I'll never stop noticing you, he promised. And he never did. Years later, when people asked how we met, I'd tell them the truth. I was nobody. He was a billionaire. I served him cold coffee and refused to let him intimidate me. He insulted me. I saved his company anyway. And somehow, in the mess and the pride and the vulnerability, we found something real. Love doesn't always start pretty. Sometimes it starts with cold coffee and bruised egos and 2 people too stubborn to give up. But if you're brave enough to see past the surface, to fight for what's right even when it's hard, to believe that everyone deserves a second chance, then maybe, just maybe, you'll find your own version of happily ever after. Even if it starts with the worst cup of coffee you've ever served.